You might be wondering why we're covering this monitor. Well, Linus already did the 27-inch 1440p version. Well, that's because this is the best monitor. I'm telling you, it's better. This is the AW3225QF, and it's the 32-inch 4K version. No, this isn't 360 hertz, but 4K 240 is amazing. What we might sacrifice in terms of refresh rate, it more than makes up for it in PPI, because while the screen is bigger, we are also going from like 108, 109 PPI all the way up to a whopping 140. Don't get me wrong, it's still not XDR Pro Display territory, but man, I tell you, 140 PPI on a 32-inch screen, 16:9, as much as I love ultra wide, maybe those days are over. We've got our classic Alienware stand here, column insert and screw it down system. Then we're gonna take everything else out of the box, like our cable cover that we're probably not gonna install. Little Alienware box full of what, goodies? Safety and regulatory information for those who care about that, and you get an Alienware sticker. We've also got our C13 power cable, display port to USB-C cable, surprisingly enough, and an HDMI 2.1 cable. Ultra high speed. Click, clack, and boom. Oh, it's heavy. Let me get rid of this box here. Careful, Andrew. You might notice that this is a curved screen, which might seem a little weird at 32 inches, but I think at a screen size like this, it's not gonna be that bad. You're not gonna have it curving like right over here. It'll be kind of like there in your peripheral vision, so it should be okay. Now, as for the I/O and navigation, we've got a, oh yeah, traditional Dell Alienware navigation nipple, and then that's USB 3.2 Gen 1 for our Type B upstream port, and then USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A downstream ports. And then these are both HDMI 2.1 with the left one having ARC and eARC support. And then our display port is just DP 1.4. And then we've also got a couple quick access USB-A and USB-C ports here with support for BC 1.2 power charging on the USB-C. I can't wait to use HDMI 2.1 to get 4K 240 hertz. This thing is going to look amazing. It's the first QD-OLED to do that, but we're not going to take a look at it until after a word from our sponsor.
Thanks to Be Quiet for sponsoring our CES 2024 coverage. If you're shopping for your next PC build or just new components in general, make sure to check out Be Quiet. Their premium products include PC cases, power supplies, water and air cooling, and fans for desktop PCs. With roots in Germany, they've been in the industry for more than 20 years and specialize in making high-quality parts that are nearly inaudible. This year at CES, they're showcasing their new white PC cases, white fans, and even white hard drive cages. Step into the world of silent computing with Be Quiet at the link down below.
240 hertz. Oh, and I forgot, this one is better because it has Dolby Vision on it. The other one does not do that, and you're definitely going to want to take advantage of it when you watch HDR content. We did our testing for this display, and I've got to say, it is literally some of the best color accuracy we've seen in terms of HDR. It's just mind-blowing how good it's getting. It covers 80% of BT 2020, which has been beaten by TVs, but that's still incredible for a display of this size. We've got the monitor tilted a little bit towards the camera, but when I put it straight on and I sit around where I would be when I'm gaming from home, I've got to say the curve doesn't bother me at all. And I've heard that the 4K version is not always going to be curved. So if you really don't like this one, maybe just wait a little bit and see what else comes out. Wow, we've got our own HDR footage now from the Ari video. Check out ShortCircuit. Before we watch our HDR footage, I'm just gonna make sure that this is actually in HDR 1000 mode. It's currently just in standard. One minor thing that might actually be fixed in a firmware update, thanks to the lack of G-Sync Ultimate module, is I am having a tough time using this navigation nipple and menu to turn the mode to anything else. I had to fully stop HDR in Windows for it to be able to change for me. We're gonna set it to Creator, DCI-P3, Gamma, iOS 2.2, sure. And then we should be able to go to Brightness, 15%, no, we're gonna crank that to 100%. In SDR, this gets up to about 250 nits full screen, which is pretty nice. Now here we go, display, Smart HDR, Peak 1000, baby, that's what we want. It also does True Black 400, but we found it to be super accurate at Peak 1000 as well. So set it to creator mode and set it to Peak 1000 and you are good to go. It's gonna look pretty great. That being said, who knows, maybe we just got lucky with, you know, golden sample from the factory. I hope not. HDR enabled. And oh my God, this looks so good. Let's get, I know it's just Andy, but his shirt looks so black. His jacket, it looks like he's right there, like a window. I'm looking through a window. Oh man, honestly, you guys, it is really impressive. Look at Andrew, look at that highlight on his forehead there and up in his hair. Oh, that's great. And then you've got these super dark lowlights down here. I wish we had like a bigger contrasty scene. Let's get to one. Well, I guess his black on his jacket is actually quite black. And the best thing is, since it's QD-OLED, no matter what angle I look at it from, there's zero color shift. The green and the blue still looks perfectly green and blue. And I know that they're basically perfectly green and blue because it's super color accurate. Oh, any angle, and it's just stunning. The red and the gold and oranges just pop so much more on QD-OLED. Honestly, no matter whether you're going for an LG display or Samsung, I think that OLED monitors are just kind of the future, at least until we get tiny micro LED, but that has its own set of problems, and frankly, who knows when they'll actually become affordable. We'll get to the price on this a little later, but spoiler alert, it's not as bad as you might think considering the specs. Okay, we know the colors look amazing, but how does 4K 240 Hz feel in-game? Oh my God, I'm excited. I've got to admit, I don't think that you really need 240 Hz. As soon as you're over the like 120, 144 barrier, it's good enough. Honestly, better than what a lot of people have access to. Oh my God, I love the Nova, it's so fun. Get out of here, Bob Pines. It's just, you know, you move, you flick, and your screen is instantly cleared up. Now, it can be a little clearer. I will admit that's the biggest advantage that Linus has on the 27-inch model, is that 360 Hertz. When you take a motion blur picture with this thing and with the 360, there's the tiniest bit of blur. We'll look at Smooth Frog in person in a sec here, but our still image shows that there's just the tiniest bit of blur. When you do it with the 360 Hertz, it's like you're looking at a still image. It's perfect. It's basically flawless. The text is so crisp. There's just hardly any blur at 240 Hertz with the almost instant motion pixel response time of OLED. They're on, they're off. We've got a 4090 in here, and we're gonna see how many frames per second we get at 4K Cyberpunk completely maxed out. That's kind of the biggest problem with this monitor, is that, well, it's amazing. 4K 240 Hertz feels great whether you're playing games at that frame rate or not. It takes a lot to drive a panel of this caliber, frankly. I don't know if we're gonna get anywhere close. We probably won't. Like in Counter-Strike, sure, yeah, esports, you can do 4K at a high frame rate and that's fine. Man, this isn't bad. We're doing like 100, 110 FPS with like frame gen on and everything cranked with path tracing. Some scenes with path tracing look better than others. Also, I'm not a big fan of frame gen or DLSS. I find that they make hair, especially, even though it's gotten a lot better, hair can just look weird and bad. And then I find that this building looks a little grainy, and that's probably also because of DLSS. Moving a lot of sharp objects, it has trouble with, but like, look at the shadow depth on these palm trees. Yeah, I think DLSS and frame gen just still to this day don't look quite good enough for me to want to enable them. So that's the other thing, is like, yeah, this is path tracing and everything, but we have software turned on that helps keep that frame rate really high. And we're still only hitting 110, which isn't even half of what this display can actually do. So let's turn it off and see what we get. This looks pretty great. I am gonna turn back on either frame gen or DLSS because we're down to 20, 25 average FPS. It looks amazing. Like, especially when you pay attention to these signs and flat images that aren't gonna move too much, so you don't notice the low frame rate as much. But yeah, let's turn it up a little bit and try to give it a hand here. Path tracing is just such a beast. We'll go down from ray tracing overdrive to just ray tracing ultra. Okay, we'll turn it to quality. Yeah, see, even that is so much better. Now we're up at the 75 FPS average, means we've probably got a minimum of a 1% low of about 60, which is playable, very playable, and it's just stunning. Yeah, the nice thing about OLED is the blacks just get so inky and perfect that when you get to something that's truly black, you don't get a bunch of black crush, and it looks super good. But then at the same time, because we can do up to 1,000 nits, we're also not getting any clipping. Basically anywhere, actually, it looks great. And then when it comes to QD-OLED, we've got those essentially perfect colors, like especially reds, because there's no white subpixel helping boost the brightness up. We're getting like actually true red, and we're getting actually true blue and true green, and they just look phenomenal, especially yellows and oranges, like fire. Gold pops. I think this looks really good to my own eyes, but what does the lab say? It'll do 147% of sRGB, 99% of P3, and 78% of BT 2020, which is huge. In SDR color accuracy, we measured an average delta E of 0.8 with a max of just 2. And then in HDR, we measured with luminance error an average of 3.8 with a max of 15.7. That is wildly accurate. One thing to note, we found that standard was a little more inaccurate, so we swapped it to Creator and then set gamma to 2.2, and that's how it's just perfect almost. How could I forget about brightness? SDR, we got 250 CDM squared in a 10% window, which is pretty decent. And then in HDR, of course, it's HDR 1000, so we measured a whopping 1048 CDM squared in a 1% window, which is very impressive. This thing will basically do it all. It's almost perfect in just about every way, and I'm probably going to buy one because, you know what, it's just that good. I don't know what to tell you. It also still comes, because it's still Dell Alienware, it's got that 3-year OLED burn-in warranty. So if you are a little afraid, maybe don't be. I'm, you know, a little over 2 years into owning my other Alienware, and it still has absolutely nothing. I take care of it. I auto hide taskbar like we've got here. I use a moving desktop background with Wallpaper Engine, and then I make sure to put my monitor to sleep when I'm not using it. It's totally fine. Sometimes I game with very static elements. I play a lot of Dota, and then sometimes, you know, I'll watch movies with the black bars on the side because it's 16:9. Maybe now, if I buy this, I don't have to worry about that anymore. With the performance, the color accuracy, the pixel density of a screen this size, at a price tag of only $11.99 US, it's, oh man, I think it wins. Even with the other one being at like $8.99, you save like, what, 300 bucks? I don't know, I think this is the way to go. It's just perfect in basically every way, and it comes out January 11th in North America, a little later the rest of the world, I think February, and I can't wait to get my hands on one. Thanks for watching Short Circuit. If you want to watch another one, check out the Linus video with the 1440p 360 version of this guy. He just can't give up those frame rates for the higher PPI, but I think he's wrong. He's wrong! He's wrong!